Hi guys, it's me Lewis, and today I'm here to get my thoughts and opinions on Virtua Fighter being at esports, obviously being announced at the Tokyo Game Show last night. So, what are my thoughts on all this? Well, turns out when I was watching the pre-show, yes, not the live stream, because unfortunately I was busy doing other shit that night. I was watching the pre-show of Tokyo Game Show, where Sega obviously announced Virtua Fighter coming to obviously esports, and it made me and numerous others think to ourselves, is there a new Virtua Fighter game in the works? And it turns out this may be confirmed or not, but there are a lot of rumors going around that a Virtua Fighter reboot is in the works by AM2 themselves. Yes, not a sequel, not a remake, but a reboot of the series as a whole. Now, of course, let's go far back as last year when Yu Suzuki announced that he's coming back to work at AM2, and of course, fans like me were pretty damn excited. We're like, holy shit, he's coming back to AM2. I'm like, oh my god, what's he working on? Is he going to work on Fighting Vipers? Is he going to work on a Virtual Cop game, another Virtual Quest game? And he actually said in an interview that it's actually a very, very popular project that a lot of people actually remember. And it made me say to myself, yep, it's Virtua Fighter, it's gotta be Virtua Fighter. And of course, obviously, a year later, we now have, obviously, Virtua Fighter crossing over with esports. And of course, obviously, now we have rumors going around that, a Virtua Fighter reboot is in the works because of this. And I really hope to God these rumors are true, because from what I've read from this particular article, it basically says that AM2 and Sega are basically restarting the series, which makes sense why it sounds like it's going to be a reboot. So let's do a little bit of brief history here of where Virtua Fighter was, and obviously now to what they're gonna bring to obviously the reboot as a whole to its table. So let's go as far back as the 32X, where Virtua Fighter originally made its debut on a console, not just in the arcades. Of course, people like me, I own a 32X, I fucking hated it, but the only two games I got enjoyment out of that was Knuckles Chaotix and Virtua Fighter 1, and that was it. That was like the only two games I got enjoyment out of that. I never got a chance to play Virtua Racing at all whatsoever, so unfortunately I was left in the dark on that one. But yeah, Virtua Fighter 1, I was blown away due to how amazing it was, and of course I wasn't of course back then I didn't like the polygonal graphics, and then you think to yourself, oh, Lewis, you didn't like the polygonal graphics? I was a kid, I found it hideous back then, but as time went by, I actually started to get used to it, and I actually started to enjoy the polygonal look of the characters, which of course they should bring that back as like a little pre-order customizational pieces for the reboot, I guess you could say. So of course going forward, of course I never owned a Sega Saturn, and I never got a chance to play Virtua Fighter 2 until they released it on XBLA back on the 360. So yeah, that was my little brief part with VF2, and of course when VF3 came out for the Dreamcast, a little fun fact, turns out when the VF reboot does happen, and when it does show up for pre-order, I'm gonna have to get 2 copies of the game. And now you're thinking to yourself, why do you need 2 damn copies of Virtua Fighter, Lewis? Well, here's a little fun story, because here's where the Dreamcast era comes in, because turns out my dad, yes, my old man, is a big fan of the Virtua Fighter series. And of course his first game he ever played was VF3. And I'll give you a little brief story before we move forward. Is that once upon a time when I was a kid playing on my Dreamcast, obviously playing VF3, my dad walked into my room and he said, "Hey son, what are you doing?" And I basically said to him, "Oh, I'm playing VF3." And he asked me, "Is it a 2-player game?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." And of course he decided to sit down with me and just constantly just play Virtua Fighter 3 with me on the Dreamcast. And my god, I was like, my god, my dad was blown away due to how amazing the game was, despite the fact that the game, the look of the game of VF3 didn't age well. It still was a good game nonetheless. And every time I came home from school, I always walked into my room and I can hear like the punching and kicking noises, and I can also hear Akira going yeah, like making those noises and all that shit. And then I realized when I opened the door, my dad is in my fucking room playing Virtua Fighter 3, and I'm just like my god, I've literally got my own dad glued to a 3D Sega game. Holy shit! And of course, when the PS2 came out, Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution were announced obviously in two separate timelines during that particular generation of consoles. We bought both games for both our consoles. So yeah, we had two different PS2s, one for me, one for him. But yeah, like it was insane. That my old man was into that shit, and of course obviously I had to buy two more copies of Virtua Fighter 5 for both me and my dad, since we both got 360s. Then of course we had to digitally download VF5 Final Showdown afterwards. But besides all like the brief history on my story on why I love Virtua Fighter, let's talk about what can they bring to the table with Virtua Fighter. Now, people like me have been requesting this from Sega for almost 2.5 decades. We've been asking Sega, can they bring in not just arcade endings, because one of the biggest gripes with Virtua Fighter, there hasn't been any arcade endings ever. The intros mainly told the stories of each character from the Virtua Fighter series as a whole, including new characters that made their debut. But yeah, the main problem, the main gripe that people like me had is that the series never had arcade endings, and I think now's a good time to actually bring that to the table, because I mean they've got all this Virtua Fighter lore for each character, like Jackie Bryant, who's an Indianapolis 500 racer who's not only was his car sabotaged and his sponsors being assassinated by Judgment 6, but Judgment 6 themselves kidnapped his sister Sarah Bryant and brainwashed her into becoming, well, a deadly human super soldier. And of course, well, it took Jackie, I think, up to around VF3 or VF4 to get her bloody memories back. And of course you have Kogimaru, who's actually, which by the way, Kogimaru is one of my mains in the series. Like, he's always stuck with me ever since. Like, I've never been a fan of like ninja characters, but with Kogimaru, like, he is, goddamn, he's just a badass. I love him. He's just a badass blue ninja going out of his way to just kick ass and of course take down Judgment 6 for basically killing his dad, kidnapping his mom, and turning her mom into the final boss, aka Doral being the biggest pain in the arse to actually beat in a bloody fighting game. But yeah, and of course you have Jeffrey McWild, who's joining the Virtua Fighter tournaments due to the fact that he's been hearing rumors that it's Judgment 6 that's been sabotaging his boat, not this mythical shark that's trying that's basically just trying to troll him as he's fishing. But of course it doesn't stop there. There's like so many other characters that have different lore in their stories, and some of these characters are actually linked to others in their storylines. But one of the most key things that I absolutely loved with Virtua Fighter is how realistic it is, how realistic the combat is, how realistic the fighting styles are, because Virtua Fighter isn't like Mortal Kombat or Tekken. Like both of those games do have like realistic martial arts, but at the same time it's mixed with unrealism. Especially the characters, well, except for Doral. So I would say it's 99% realistic, not 100%. But yeah, it's still a fucking good game nonetheless. And keep in mind though, Virtua Fighter is actually is the first ever 3D fighter to ever be released. Not Tekken, not Tekken, not bloody Raw. Sorry, not Tekken, not bloody Raw. To Shinden, not any of those games. It was Virtua Fighter that started it all. Especially the replay mechanics. They actually put that in there as well, which was because during that time, putting a replay mechanic in a 3D fighting game was a difficult thing for AM2 and Yu Suzuki to pull off. And and my god, they stuck with it ever since. It's just one of those things that you just want to, watch those last like, punches and kicks before it moves on to like the next round, or the round is or like all the rounds are complete or whether you won or lost. But yeah, like that was one of the great things about it. So what's the next thing? What's the next thing that needs to bring? Of course, we can all agree, new characters. Now, obviously, if you played every single Virtua Fighter game like I have, including obviously VF5 Final Showdown, if you look at how many characters are in Final Showdown, there are 20 characters in total. And of course, when it comes to modern fighting games, when it comes to modern fighting games, you need to have 20 characters or more at day one launch of that particular IP. I mean, you can't just pull a Street Fighter 5 where you have like 16 characters and barely any content and put like a $60 price tag and expect people to love the game. That's not how it fucking works. And to be honest with you, I don't think Sega's going to do that. I think because we all know damn well Sega knows how to sell a product. Despite some of their minor fuck-ups, they are very careful as to what they're putting the price on what game, and they've done that so bloody well. And with Virtua Fighter, they definitely need to bring a capoeira character, someone similar to like Eddie and Christy from Tekken, perhaps a British boxer if you can. I would love to see a British boxer. Who else can they bring to the table actually? Oh god, a character who fights similar to like I would say Katarina, despite the fact she's not really that much of a popular character to begin with. But yeah, Katarina, she definitely has quite a unique fighting style to her. And I think that could work for her. I think that could work for a character very similar to Katarina from Tekken. And of course, obviously bring back the original characters, obviously, including Doral, obviously, because Doral's obviously been the final boss, since the start of Virtua Fighter and obviously going forward. So yeah, new characters and old characters, and of course brand new stages. Bring all of those in. I'm pretty sure Sega's going to do that. Instantly. Customization, of course. Customization is another big staple in the Virtua Fighter series. Of course, people across the globe, not just in Japan, have been customizing the characters non-stop, including myself. There was even because I even customized Kogimaru in like this blue cybernetic armor with like evil glowing red eyes, and I'm just like, holy shit, he looks like an actual like cyborg ninja, just like doing all that shit, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm blown away by that. And of course, my second main character being L-Blaze, which I don't use. Well, actually, no. I take that back. I do play quite a few wrestling characters in fighting games like King and Armor King from Tekken. But L-Blaze, goddamn, there was this one customizational piece that I actually put in there that actually brought something new, where it was like more of an advanced version of his mask, where it was like covered in like these giant like eagle sized feathers with a Mexican flag cape with like a championship belt with like body armor. That's what I put on L-Blaze to make him like the world champion of the world heavyweight champion of wrestling, and of course, yeah, there was like tons to customize, but the only downside to the customizational mode was that it limited how much it wanted you to put on the characters, which made sense because unfortunately the Lindbergh engine that they were using for VF5 and Final Showdown, unfortunately they couldn't go over the limits because unfortunately it would cause a lot of loading problems. But I think in modern gaming, I think they can scrap the limit points of the customization of the characters, and I think that would actually add more. You can be more creative with your work without being limited to how much you can put on. But yeah, customization, definitely bring that back. That's a definite must. Now here are two others that people like me have been requesting for decades from Virtua Fighter, and that is none other than a tag team mode and a story mode. Now, tag team mode, of course, we barely see that in regular 1v1 fighting games, but I think now's a good time to actually bring tag team mode in VF6. Well, yeah, VF6 or VF Reboot, which I'm always going to call it VF6, despite the fact that that's going to be a reboot. So yeah, deal with it. Anyway, so yeah, like tag team mode definitely needs to be a must in VF6. Like that is a definite must. Story mode, of course, go like the Mortal Kombat route with Virtua Fighter's story, because I mean, you've got, like I said, you've got all this lore of every single characters, and you can bring them together where some of the characters are allies, some of them are enemies, and you can just put them together. Some of the characters like Akira, Jackie, Kogemaru, Aoi, possibly Brad if possible, who are like working together to, like, you know, go and stop Judgment 6 from corrupting the world and obviously taking it over with all these, you know, multiple Doral clones perhaps. And just go nuts with it. Like, go nuts with the story mode. People want to see that because they want to see full-length cutscenes from the story mode. We don't just want it to be just you know your typical arcadey style fighting game. We want Sega to go overboard. We want them to, like, you know, go overboard with the modes, and we want to do that shit. So yeah, tag team mode and story mode, definitely bring that in there. And one of the final pieces that Sega needs, and I mean they definitely need to put this in the game, and that's none other than adding guest characters within the roster itself. Now, they can go different ways with this, and I've actually came up with my own like free guest character list for the roster. Sega to Sanshiro, yes, the Sega to Sanshiro from the Sega Saturn commercial. Sega to Sanshiro, Sega to Sanshiro. Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza, which makes sense, and of course Axel Stone from Streets of Rage. And I actually think that that bringing those three characters in this roster would be fantastic. Hell, if they can bring in a Tekken character like Heihachi, Kazuya, or Jin. I think that could actually work too. I think you know, bringing a Tekken character in a Virtua Fighter game would be amazing. Like that would be like you know, the best crossover. You know, like possibly, you know, what is it? Heihachi versus Lao Chan, or Kazuya versus I don't know, Go Himigami, or Jin versus what is it? Fucking Akira, you know what I mean? Like Jin versus Akira, you know, all that shit. And hell, bring back that one Arabian character that people like me have been asking for years, and that's Siba Majido, that missing Arabian character that was only playable in Fighters Mega Mix. He was like only playable in that game, and that was it. You never saw him ever again after that. I actually think that he would be a unique character to Virtua Fighter. Like give him his own backstory. You know, like for God's sakes, like please put him in the game. Please put Siba in the game. Like you do need characters for this reboot, and I think Siba would be great. Like you can put that character in there. And bam, there you go. You've got yourself a unique roster of characters, and but yeah, that's pretty much the brief history of me playing Virtua Fighter and the stuff that they need for the game, and of course, well, some of the characters' laws that are in there. But if you want to know more about the Virtua Fighter lore, I remember watching some videos of this one guy who actually reads through all the characters' backstories so far within Virtua Fighter, and to be honest, it's worth checking out. It's worth checking out those videos. So if I do find the playlist, I'll put it down in the links in the description for you, so you guys can go and check it out. But goddamn, man, like never thought I'd see the day that Virtua Fighter would team up with esports because of, well, a reboot that's going to be happening. Like that just gets me so hyped up. I need to see a trailer right now. I need to see the gameplay. I need to see all of that stuff. Like, goddamn, I'm not gonna lie, Sega is on a roll this time around. First Streets of Rage. Then fucking Oh god, then oh, what was the game that they brought back? Shenmue, now Virtua Fighter, which my god, like Sega is just on a roll, and of course, bringing Phantasy Star Online 2 to the West, and of course, obviously, New Genesis being in the works, which by the way, me and Taylor are looking forward to that. But yeah, Sega, you are getting yourselves back on track, and you know what? You make me so goddamn happy. So yeah, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what are your thoughts on Virtua Fighter getting a reboot and being at esports, and what other games are you looking forward to that was announced at the Tokyo Game Show. Okay, guys, peace out.